Welcome to On My Way to Wealth, the podcast where busy Gen Xers can learn financial tips as they navigate life on their way to wealth. And now, please join your host, Luis Rosa.
Hi, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the On My Way to Wealth podcast. My name is Luis Rosa, and I'm your host. Today, I want to talk to you about health savings account, also known as HSAs. I want to tell you what they are, who qualifies for them, some of their limitations, their benefits, and how you can take advantage of them. As the name implies, it's a savings account that is designed for you to save money towards healthcare expenses that are out of pocket. A lot of us have our health insurance policy through work or through the exchange, but then you still find yourself having other out-of-pocket expenses. And this is a great tool to use for that. However, I wanted to highlight some of the even more important aspects and how you can use this tool, take advantage of this unique tax advantage that this particular account has, and even use it for your own retirement. So I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Now, before I get into some of the particulars, I want to make sure that you understand some of the differences because the terminology might be a little similar. A lot of us have what are called FSAs, which are flexible spending accounts via work. And some of the features in the FSA are similar to the HSA, so they could be easily confused. If you have an FSA, a flexible spending account, typically you set that up via your employer, you get a debit card, and then you're able to contribute money to that on a pre-tax basis, which means that you can then pay for your medical out-of-pocket expenses without paying any taxes. Now, those particular accounts have like a use it or lose it clause where you have until the end of the year to use those expenses and they don't roll over, and that's kind of like where those benefits end. So I want to make sure that you understand that there is a clear difference with what we're talking about today. The HSAs, the health savings account, is a lot more robust. So I'm going to tell you all these details. I'm super excited about this particular account because it has so many advantages that you can use it for things like investing and saving for your future as well. So let's dive in. So as you know, if you get your health insurance through your employer or through the exchange, normally you have some sort of deductible or maximum out of pocket that you have to spend before the insurance kicks in. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how all that works because I already did an episode 66, exactly everything you need to know about how to understand your health insurance plan. It goes into deductibles, what out-of-pocket means, what in-network, out-of-network, all those limitations, and all that terminology so that you understand your health insurance policy. So if you want to dive a little deeper into how health insurance plans work, make sure to go to episode 66 of the On My Way to Wealth podcast. Now, the health savings account, it's not something that you will use by itself. It's usually something that you're eligible to obtain when you have what's considered a high deductible health plan, HDHP. High deductible health plan, if you have one of these, normally when you get a job and you get the employer package with the benefits, it would show you the different options of health plans that you can choose. If you see that one of those has the high deductible health plan next to it, that means that if you choose that plan, you would have access to then creating your own health savings account, which is a great tool that you can use for pre-tax medical out-of-pocket expenses and also save for your retirement, as you'll find out shortly. So if you are offered an HSA, it's one of the things that I really recommend that you consider. And this is something that a financial advisor can help you determine because they have a higher deductible. But if you don't use the plan that much, it might make sense for you and then save money on the HSA. But it might not make sense for you. So that's something you need to evaluate on your own individual situation and depending on how much use you're going to get out of the plan. But having that option is always great because you can use it for so many more things. So let's say you do have that option, right? You have a health savings account. Let me tell you how they work. One of the things that you can do with this is that you can contribute money on a pre-tax basis. And that means is that whatever you contribute to this, if you do it through your employer, you're basically just not going to pay taxes on this money. It's going to go from your paycheck into this account. If you do it on your own, then you just get to deduct that from your taxable income, from your gross income, actually, on your tax return. So, but either way, it's the same effect where you're not paying money to the amount of money that you contribute to this account, which is already an excellent thing, right? Number two, once you have the HSA established, you can then put money in there and then use that money to pay for qualified medical expenses. So as long as you do that, you can use that money tax-free. So that's another advantage, right? Because you're basically paying for your out-of-pocket medical expenses without paying taxes on it. The other alternative, let's say if you did not have an HSA, you get taxed on your money, and then with that money is when you pay for your out-of-pocket expenses. So this already gives you some tax advantage there. The second cool feature about the HSA is that you can also invest the money. So you have investment options, similar to kind of like what you have in your 401k, where you can choose different funds, mutual funds, et cetera. Invest the money in that account, and that money gets to grow tax-free. And there are some rules you need to follow. But in essence, if you take the money out for qualified medical expenses, any earnings that you have in that account, you don't pay any taxes on. So that's the second tax benefit, right? Now you get to invest, accumulate the money in this account, then use it for qualified medical expenses and not pay any taxes on it. Now, the other cool feature about this, which is why I was saying that you can use this to save for your retirement, is because unlike the FSA, the money in this account is yours and can continue to be yours, even if you left your employer or even if you didn't spend the money that year. It continues to roll over. It's similar to kind of like a retirement account to some degree, right? It's a hybrid product. So that is a great advantage, because one of the things that you can use this for is to fill it up, even if you don't plan on using it or don't think you're going to need the money this year, next year, the following year. Continue to fund it as long as you're eligible, because now you're getting a tax deduction by doing so. You're investing money. And then eventually at some point, even if it's later on in life when you're older, you can take money out of this for qualified medical expenses and pay zero taxes. You know, one of the things I work with my clients when we're doing financial plans, we take into account the cost of medical expenses. And these are the kinds of things we look at, right? Not just paying for insurance, but also any out-of-pocket medical expenses. You might need dentures, you might need things for, anything, right? Hospitalizations, whatever, any out-of-pocket expense that you think you might need. So that is one great way of doing like a tax-free savings towards your retirement, because at some point when you do need to take money out for health insurance related expenses, you don't have to worry about like touching your other assets like your 401k, your IRAs, right? Now, here's another cool feature about this particular plan is that after the age of 65, you are not necessarily required to take money out of this plan for qualified medical expenses. So, and let me go back there a little bit. Let's say you happen to tap into this plan before your age 65. If you do that and the money is not used for qualified medical expenses, then you have to pay income tax on the distribution plus an additional 20% penalty, which is really big. So if you need money and you have an HSA and you need money for something that is not a medical expense and you're under the age of 65, that is one of the very last places that you want to look into, because the consequences are very hefty. Not only are you paying income tax at your tax bracket, but you're also going to pay a 20% penalty. However, that being said, if we plan this right and you do not touch it for anything other than medical expenses before 65, or after 65, you decide that you're going to touch this money for something other than medical, let's say you just didn't need it for medical, you don't have to pay any income tax on the distribution. You only, you have to pay taxes on the distribution, but you do not have to pay any penalty anymore after age 65. So that means that in essence, it's kind of like an IRA that you would have put your own money to all along. So you end up using this as a vehicle for planning for retirement. So it could be like a double-edged sword that is in your benefit. You put money away every year. If you need it for qualified medical expenses, tax-free. If you don't need it for qualified medical expenses after 65, then you just pay taxes and no penalty when you take it out. right? So it's a great tool for you to use for retirement. So it's one of the strategies I use for my clients. And the cool thing is that you can use this, it's not just for yourself. You can use this for your dependents or even anybody that would have qualified as your dependent. So it can be very flexible. You can, if you pay for medical expenses, you can then reimburse yourself as well from the HSA. So it's pretty flexible. Now, there's some things to keep in mind, like if you have an FSA at work, that could be one of the disqualifiers so that you're not eligible. If you're enrolled in Medicare, you cannot get an HSA. So this actually after 65, you cannot contribute. Some veterans or people in the military have to consider if you're on VA benefits or you're getting TRICARE or TRICARE for life. Those are going to be disqualifiers. And also, you cannot be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's tax return. That'll also disqualify from using this product. But provided that you have a high deductible health plan, you don't have any other health coverage that isn't permitted, and you aren't enrolled in Medicare and you're not claimed as somebody else's dependent, you're going to be good to go on this. Now, let me tell you about the limits, because as you know, with IRAs, Roth IRAs, there's going to be a limit on this, obviously, because of the tax benefits. The government wouldn't want rich people to start putting a whole bunch of money into these and then never paying taxes on them or deferring taxes for a long period. So there are limits as well. Usually they go up every year. For the year 2021, if you have self-only coverage, is $3,600 a year that you can put in there. And if you have family coverage, is double that, $7,200. So as a family, you can put away $7,200 per year into this HSA. It lowers your gross income by that much, so you don't pay taxes on that money. You can use it for qualified medical expenses, tax-free, which is great. You can invest it, have the earnings grow tax-free. When you take it out after age 65, if you continue to use it for medical expenses, all tax-free money. If you take it out after 65 and you do not use it for qualified medical expenses, then you just pay taxes on the money. So this is a great opportunity to do some serious planning and some serious savings around this, right? So great complement to your 401k. So I have some clients that are able to max out their 401ks. This can give you a nice boost because now as a family, you can go ahead and add yet another $7,200 on top of the 401k limitations and seriously lower your taxable income today. Right now, some things to keep in mind, which are also positives. In addition to reducing your taxable income, you may get some employer contribution into this plan. So a lot of employers that offer it also put money. Now, if that's the case, you just got to keep in mind that the maximum contribution limit applies. So if your employer has already put in some money towards this, you have to keep in mind what the limits are, because the contribution between your employer and yourself cannot exceed those limits. Also, the HSA is portable, so you can take it with you if you leave your employment, which is great. This is not attached to your job. The money does not expire, so it doesn't have to use it or lose it, none of that stuff. The money is yours, it's in there. So that's a great feature, which is much different from the FSA. But just keep in mind that if you take it out before age 65 and it's not for a qualified medical expense, you're going to pay some hefty penalties because it's 20% plus the taxes that you would have paid. So this is another way that I look at when I have high earning clients that are looking to save money from taxes because they feel like they'll be in the lower bracket when they retire. It's say, okay, let's look at your 401k options. Then let's see if you can qualify for an HSA. Use that to boost your tax savings today, and also using it as an investment vehicle that could later on be used for either retirement income in general after 65 or your qualified medical expenses that very likely all of us will have at that age bracket, right? So this is a very unique product with technically triple tax advantage that you should talk to your financial planner about. See if you qualify. See if this is a good idea for you and your situation, because the benefits are really great. And I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily take advantage of these. Maybe they're not aware of it, or because it has the word health in it, you're only thinking like, oh, this is just to kind of like just save for my health insurance. I don't really need it right now. I don't have that many out of pocket, or I already have the FSA. So think beyond saving for health, because there's a lot more to it, as you've seen, right? So great, unique product. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to send me an email at luis@onmywaytowealth.com. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to On My Way to Wealth. If you have any questions, please send me an email at luis@onmywaytowealth.com. The information provided here is for information and education purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of myself, unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by my firm or myself about other parties' information or accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with a financial advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.